Welcome to How Can I Keep From Singing, a podcast that explores the power of singing together. I'm your host, Stuart Stotts, coming to you from rural Wisconsin. And in each episode, we explore conversations with song leaders and thought leaders and others who can give us some insight and maybe some how-to about how to engage in this ancient and powerful way of interacting with each other. My guest this week is Reggie Harris.
Hallelujah, freedom. Been down into the South. I've been walking around to spread the news. Been down into the South. And now I got holes in all my shoes. Been down into the South. And we sing hallelujah, freedom. Hallelujah, freedom. Hallelujah, freedom.
Reggie is basically just a phenomenal human being. I could just stop there and we could jump into our conversation, but I want to give you at least a little bit of background. Reggie's been making music for a long time, getting on to 50 years, I think it is, and a long list of accolades and accomplishments and awards, including being recognized by the Folk Alliance and the Children's Music Network and being written up in the New York Times, recordings making their way to the upper levels of the folk charts, being a Kennedy Center artist, and an author as well, with his book, Searching for Solid Ground. So there's a lot to know about Reggie. And he's also involved with the Living Legacy Project, which is a way of helping people engage with both the events and the issues around civil rights and racism, prejudice, through pilgrimages, programs, and in particular, his role as singing, the power of singing with that. A lot more information on reggieharrismusic.com. So I've only known Reggie for about 15 of those 50 years of being out there. It's a life that's carried him around the world, singing with people, leading workshops. One of the amazing things about Reggie is that he comes to us with deep intent and deep understanding about affecting the world, but at the same time has a fantastic laugh and a wonderful sense of humor. So the joy he brings to this work is contagious. So Reggie, thank you so much for being part of How Can I Keep From Singing today.
Thank you so much for the invitation, and it is always great to see you. So
yeah, it's great to see you too. Yeah, it's been a while, but it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So let's just jump into it here. My first question is, in these troubled times, can singing save us?
It's really funny. I remember some years ago, Pete Seeger saying, singing and songs will save the world. And it was part of a conversation that a lot of us were having at the time. Pete's contention was that singing is important, certainly for our entertainment, and singing is important for making us feel a certain way, creating a repository for our emotions. But he said, when things are at their worst, that's the best time to be singing. And I think about the community that I come from as a descendant of the Black migration and as a descendant of those who were in slavery in this country. Song was where those people went. Spirituals rose out of the experience of people being in bondage. And that was not the first group that had centered their emotions and their sorrow and their desire for freedom in song, but certainly the folks who raised me up, as they say, they brought songs with them on that powerful journey, coming from wherever they were in the South, and my family settling in Pennsylvania and Philadelphia. And all around me as a child, song was present, deeply present. And of course, in those days, as kids, we didn't have any sense of why they sang so much. But song held the communities together. It built new connections. And then in those moments when nothing else could speak to the agony and the pain in your life, song did. So when the Civil Rights Movement came about, of course, those people knew that to endure all of the obstacles and the tribulations of dealing with racism and, Jim Crow and unemployment and lack of housing and everything that affects all human beings. It wasn't just African Americans. They knew that they needed to put song into the middle of their movement. So those songs, I always say, it crept into my bones so that when I grew older and suddenly found that I needed them, they just resonated. So yeah, it's a. I don't remember a time when music wasn't part of my very existence in every possible way, and my journey over the years has been to find ways to share that with other people.
I'm forgetting who it was, but someone talked about being vaccinated, which I understand is a loaded word these days. Um, but vaccinated with songs as a child that would
Yeah,
then be useful later in life, right? You
yeah.
have songs, as you say, in your bones, and I think you're very fortunate in that aspect of your life to
Oh,
be raised
oh.
with that. So Reggie, we've got on the one hand we have the song, right,
Hmm.
itself, and but I'm particularly interested in the experience of singing together. In some ways, the song does matter somewhat,
Hmm.
but what really matters in what I'm thinking about, and this is this experience of singing together, the power, the community, which I'm sure you experienced both then and in your work now. Could you talk a little bit about that experience?
One of my favorite ways to explain it is for Bernice Johnson Reagan, founder of Sweet Honey in the Rock. In one of her interviews, she said, "Songs make things possible that seem impossible, but that only happens because we hear the song and we feel the song." So the singing is important, the song is important, but the real magic is that we sing together. We hear the voices of those around us, and that resonates into a space that is transformative. I remember growing up in my church in Philadelphia, and particularly on some afternoons, particularly first Sunday when we had communion, it was always in the afternoon, and we'd go home and have lunch after church service, and we'd come back. And the first 2.5 hours of our gathering in that church was singing. And there were any number of song leaders. People in the congregation would just strike up a song, and then the entire congregation would join them. And I just remember how that swell of voices just really just enveloped every part of your being. I can now, in my 70s, hear those voices. They are a constant reminder to me that I grew up in a community that was cohesive and that was responding to each other. And people honored each other's songs. And they just were there for the opportunity to sit. And between the songs, there would be silence. But no one was getting up and making a speech. So I think when I think about, for example, gatherings at marches and protests, I think often there are too many words. I think that the experience that we need, when we sing together, it opens a part of us, the vulnerability. I just remember a couple of things, and this has been a long time conversation I've been having with a number of song leaders. Where you enter that space, we all come from a different experience every day, whatever's going on in our lives. And when we enter a space with other people, often there's a sort of predisposed idea about where it is we're supposed to be or go. But everybody coming into the building or the room or the gathering isn't at the same place. We need space and time to acclimate, to allow our minds and our bodies to calm down. I think that's where a song leader has to also understand what song to introduce. The spirituals are so amazing because they kind of start out with the sorrow songs, acknowledging the things that aren't going well. And they acknowledge the pain that might be, and everybody in that building is not going to be in pain at the same level of pain, but at least it's an acknowledgement that we come from, disparate feelings, and you have a chance to sort of catch the vibe of, as in gatherings that have been recorded. I remember hearing a recording of Bessie Jones sitting with some people in a church in probably in Georgia. She just strikes up, "Sheep, sheep, don't you know the road?" And the voices that gather, they're not all in the same place. They know the chorus, "Yes, my Lord, I know the road." But some people aren't in a place where they can even sing that. And they come in with a hum. Mm-hmm. Everybody has a chance to kind of express kind of where they are. And then slowly but surely you hear all those voices acknowledging each other, and they start to swell. Sheep, don't you know the road? Yes, my Lord, I know the road. Sheep, sheep, don't you you know the road? Yes, Lord, I know the road.
You're listening to How Can I Keep From Singing? My name is Stuart Stotts, and my guest today is Reggie Harris.
My Lord, I know the road. Don't you know the road by the singing of the song? Yes, Lord, I know the road. And that, I think, is something that we have lost. I don't think. It is something that we have lost in our society. The allowance of the individual to present what they have through song in that moment, and be supported and encouraged by the other voices. So, as a song leader, I do a lot of songs that people are able to sing in whatever concert I'm doing. And I know, for example, that in that setting, there's some people there who want to sing right away. And there's some people who've been dragged there and they don't want to sing at all. and other people who were told when they were 5 years old never to sing again because their voices weren't pristine and proper. And so I look upon that opening of an opportunity as, in many ways, a healing, to encourage people, cajole them a little, but give them permission to use that voice that may be in any position of use. And by the end of the song or the end of the evening, those voices will swell in a different way. And we have experienced each other on a level that suggesting that we can all get together would never accomplish.
It's a beautiful answer, and it brings up all kinds of questions that I want to throw here. But just, I remember reading, for example, a description of a Black church in the South singing a cappella, but also the ideas being thrown out and the song being shaped by the experience of singing it, as opposed to, here's the hymn book, start on, number 353, right? And this very vital, vibrant, but also unique experience. This way we're singing this song is unique to this moment. And that speaks to the kind of energy you're talking about, being able to sense the energy. But also, as you so clearly say, this movement from individuality to the best singing experiences I've had with a group is when I can only barely hear my own voice, because I'm part of this much larger thing. And that experience it's not just a metaphor. It's also sort of working kinesthetically in me and everybody around us. So you come from this great experience, as so few of us have, of having been raised in a singing environment. Now you, as a song leader, you're doing a concert or a workshop or wherever you might be, what are some of the considerations that you have? And one, I think that you stated earlier, is not too many words, right? You want them by the second or third time through to feel confident that they can now sing out and not worry like he's going to change the words or that kind of thing. What other sorts of considerations do you have?
First of all, the song leader has got to own the song. This song has to be something that is part of who you are. And they have to be aware of the disparate feelings that might be in the group that you're trying to lead. It's always important to remember that we are unique individuals and we are experiencing the world in our own particular way. So if you're going to try to bring a group of people together, first of all, if I come into this just assuming that everybody wants to sing, and it's not your job to figure out, you can't go around to everybody and say, so what's your experience of singing?
Could you fill out this form? And
yeah, but there are very subtle ways in which you can invite people into an experience. And I think the first thing is, yesterday I was leading a group at a church, a Unitarian church here in Ann Arbor. And the first hymn was something that I suggested, and it wasn't in a hymn book. I sang through it, the first chorus. And then I just said to everybody, so how new is it? Is this a new song? Raise your hand if this is a new song for you. And almost every hand went up, which I knew would happen because I knew that they hadn't sung this song before. But it's just an invitation. Now, they can see, they can feel that everybody's on the same plane. We're all learning something new. And I say, well, great. Now, I don't go into it and say, I really want you to sing this song, which is one of the things that drives me nuts whenever I see song leaders say, do you want to sing? Or, I mean, anything that suggests, it gives people an opportunity to say, no, I really don't want
Right.
to.
Yes.
And so I just say, okay, fine. So I'm going to teach you this song. I'm going to do it line by line. And here's the first line. And I sing the first line and invite them to sing it. And so I'm going to take them to an experience of the song. They've already heard it when I sang it. Now I'm going to take them to an experience. Very simple. But again, it's important that there not be so many words that you can't just learn it. And then I say, and don't worry about making a mistake, because you're going to make one. We're going to be fine by the end of this song because it's really easy to sing. And you prove that by having the song be easy to sing.
Exactly, right. I mean, I remember working with teachers on
Yeah.
doing songwriting, but also like, how do you sing with your kids? And these were not music teachers. This was just your average third grade teacher or something. And part of what it took me a little while to learn is you just have to sing the song with kids enough that everybody's comfortable. You can't just
Yeah.
run through it once and say, okay, let's go. So
Right.
it's just like any other activity. You have to work towards a level of comfort and mastery to be able then to be comfortable to move into the next phase.
Your singers have to be confident that this person who's driving the bus is a good driver.
Right, that you're holding them and you're not going to drop them. And
Right.
now let's do a key change.
And that whole thing, when the first little shift happens and they don't get a line right, you don't berate them and you don't make a big deal about it. You just say, oh, that didn't go well, did it? Okay, let's try that again.
Try that again, yeah.
We're all in this together. And I think everything that you're doing is saying that to them. And then they have the success of getting through it. I love to line out songs. I'm doing a Pete Seeger song. I say, one blue sky above us. And now they have one ocean lapping all ashore. So they hear the words. And now I'm watching them also. I'm looking into those eyes and seeing how comfortable they feel, they look. Are they looking around? I'm so grateful for the willingness of people to risk that I want to reward them with a really good feeling of success. And then just showing the confidence of knowing that, yes, you can do this. And if somebody's not singing, it's fine. We're just going to let you experience this as you are. But most often than not, we as human beings, we're all pack animals. We want to belong to this group.
I mean, it is hugely vulnerable to sing for most of us. I mean, some of us
Yeah.
have great song, a lot, voices or whatever, but for most
Yeah.
of us, and to, acknowledge that, to treat that with care and let people sort of reclaim their voice. And again, we're talking, both metaphor and a sense of actually owning your voice. Can you think of a time, and there may be many, when you were singing with people in it, what was a difficult situation, which helped to change, and I say that partly having known a great deal about, civil rights demonstrations and things like that, where people were facing violence and people using songs to at least fortify the group itself and perhaps even affect those who they're facing. It's one thing in a room where we're together. It's another thing we're facing a difficult situation in song, and we know song can make a difference that way. Wondering if you could just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think about leading singing at a protest or maybe even a memorial service, something that has happened, and a group is deep into a feeling of death or fear, and getting people to. And I think in those, there are songs. I mean, the other thing about song leaders is that you have a repertoire of songs that cover a number of possible situations. Sometimes it's just a song that has one line. I love the story of Yara Allen, who works with Reverend William Barber. She is one of the people that he has come, and she sings for maybe 20 minutes, a half an hour, depending on if he's late getting to miss the plane or
Right,
whatever.
right.
She's singing at the place to get people ready to hear his message.
Yeah.
And coming out of that very same idea of the mass meeting, and she said she was singing at one place that he was going to speak, and he was, late, transportation problems. So she had to sing more songs than normal. And the group was getting restless also because they didn't quite know, and there was a lot of things happening in that community that had people really kind of concerned. And she kind of ran out of songs. People were prepared, but now she needed to overextend. They said, we need one more song. She just said to herself, I don't know what, but the next thing that comes out of my mouth will be the song I sing. That's a song leader who really truly understands their gift and also the trust of, I think, spirit of the universe. And what she sang was, somebody's been hurting my brother and it's gone on much too long. And the melody came in the style of the spirituals, repetition. So somebody's been hurting my brother and it's gone on much too long. And it's gone on much too long. And before, this is the first time this song had been created, sung, or anything. And before she hit that chorus, she was joined by people in the audience. And then somebody's been hurting my sister. Somebody's been killing our children. Somebody's been... I think in those moments, I find this on the bus a lot of times when we are going to places like the Equal Justice Initiative's Museum of Peace and Justice. And we go through this building and we just see the horrific narrative of civil rights, human rights. And people come out of there just shaken tight, unable to find words to put on their emotions. And, I feel in those moments, my job as a song leader is to find a song that might quiet that anxiety and that reality of pain and injustice. And I might start singing a song like Guide My Feet while I run this race, which of course was a huge song in the civil rights movement that was sung before they went out to march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, or before they went to the Birmingham Square where those kids were going to be fire hosed and had dogs set on them. The song leader has to understand the complexity moved into simplicity. And there are so many songs, I think, but it's about honoring the spirit of the moment. I think the other thing is, in those situations, we're not performers. And I think that's one of the places that I find difficult for most musicians to understand the difference between the missions.
Right.
Because as song leaders, we are actually ministers. We are people who understand that it's not about us being heard. It's about serving the needs of the group and allowing the group to understand that they are serving the needs for each other.
I think that's, I heard a story the other day, somebody who had written a song for a rally, we're having a rally about whatever I've written, and she'd written this song and she got there and she realized it wasn't the right song to play. And so she went to a song that she knew the group could sing, and sort of she had a little bit of her ego go. But this ability to respond to the moment is very different than here's my set list. I completely agree with everything you're saying about sort of sophisticated kinds of understandings that make this successful. At the same time, for someone who isn't going to get up there and sing in front of 500 people waiting for William Barber, and so on, what kinds of things can help people get over that first step to take the courage, for example, somewhere to just sing with people? That's a big leap in our society, knowing how little we do sing together.
That is why I think song circles. My friend Matt Watroba has been starting sings around the country. He'll find a library that is willing to donate a Wednesday night. And so he'll go for a period of Wednesday nights and introduce and go around the circle. And I've done the same thing in some of the work that I do, and just explaining to people. First, usually they're very reluctant to actually lead a song, even if they know it and love it. So I think in that instance, finding a place where you feel good about the relationships that you have with the people there, it certainly lowers the risk. Perhaps the first time, maybe you sing it with a friend. Sing it with someone just to hear your voice in the room. I think the first thing is that you, as I said earlier, you have to kind of own the song. You know, you have to do like any performer does. You got to learn the song so that you know it cold. So you're not worried about all those things. You know, oh no, I can't remember the words. I don't like my voice. Well, most of us, when we hear
Right,
them, don't
exactly.
like our
You sort of have to
voices.
get over that, you know?
Yeah. And the only way you get over that is really to do it. I mean, perhaps it's about recording your voice and then listening to it and playing with it. But mostly, I think it's about understanding why it is that song means something to you and what it is, being clear about what it is you're trying to share
Right.
with the group. You might early on talk about that song before you sing it in some story that resonates with what others might feel. Because I think one of the things is we don't tell our stories enough. And I certainly don't mean to, tell a 25-minute story about, what happened to you on a particular day. But some bit of information that humanizes the moment and creates a relational bond between you, the song, and the group that you're working with.
So your heroes, your people who led you in this way, there's sort of this whole community that you came out of, many, many names you could pull out of. But then you think about moving into sort of the more performing or, working as opposed to just we're singing together in church or something. Who are some people, it doesn't have to be one, some people that come to mind?
Well, first person that comes to mind is Pete Seeger, who we share a great affinity for and also relationship with. Pete was the one who cured me of the hero star complex. Because at the point that I met him, I had a lot of years of being able to sing with people, but I was more focused on having my songs find their place in the world. And every time I was around Pete or in his presence and I did a song that encouraged people to sing, he would come up to me and say, I really love that
Oh,
song.
that's great. It's called positive reinforcement.
And sooner or later, I began to think, oh, that's important. Pete likes that. One of my heroes. But the thing that really made a difference was that I was teaching songwriting and performance in a week at the Swananoa Gathering. And a really famous and well-renowned songwriter came in and did an afternoon workshop on songs. And he said something in that same period that I was beginning to kind of wrestle with that. He said, as a songwriter, I write a song and then I do it for a while and then I'm kind of done with it, and I think of songs as tissue paper. I will never forget him saying that. I had a visceral reaction in my body because I do come from a community of people for whom song is life, for whom song is community, for whom the singing of a song together has meant life and death. Songs are not tissue paper to me. At the same time, I, had the benefit of being around people like Issei Barnwell and Bernice Johnson Reagan and Matt Jones. So many people who were good song leaders and who understood the mechanics of, and I watched them and I watched the ways in which, all of them different, but I watched the ways in which they, as people, as performers, figured out how they best could encourage that conversation. Because song, that's what it is. It's a conversation that a group is having as we sing and we hear each other sing. And then I just started to I became more like them. But then I found myself, the things that make me me, and the joy that comes from, because every time I sing, I'm healing myself as well.
I think, again, you think you were fortunate to have the opportunity to observe and be part of hearing many people. And, there are these song circles. It's a national phenomenon.
Yeah.
There is a desire, and there's some here in this area as well. And people want to get together and sing and have that experience that we're talking about here today.
Well, I just want to go back to the first thing that you asked me, which will song save the world? I believe it will. I believe because it puts our hearts and our minds in a different place. And I think that as we find more people, more song leaders, the way that It's used in the world obviously is to highlight things, and most of the time I mean that they highlight things, advertisings, the making of money, the star system, all of those things. But at its very base, song is healing and song is transformational. So I think all of us who have discovered that in our lives, as we share that, we actually heal ourselves and we heal others, and that is how the world will change.
Reggie, I'm just deeply grateful that you could be here today. Keep singing, keep doing the work, huh?
Hey, every day's a new day.
They must be the ones that made it through. God's got trouble. Oh, who does to all the dressed in black?
You've been listening to How Can I Keep From Singing, a production of Common Arts. My name is Stuart Stotts, and my guest today was Reggie Harris.
We're